Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Shalina B and today is a Cook With Me Daniel Fast edition. I will be making 3 meals, meals that you can prepare for breakfast, lunch, and dinner during Daniel Fast or just to jumpstart your 2024. So we can start the year off healthy and strong. So if you are interested in learning how to cook these 3 meals, then just keep on watching. So for the first meal, I am making avocado toast. I am starting off using an Ezekiel bread English muffin. Let me just preface by saying when you are on the Daniel fast or any fast, do your own research, talk with your healthcare provider or physician to make sure that you can do the fast, or if you have to modify the fast, or if you do or use or decide to use different ingredients, that is your own prerogative. I have seen discrepancies with English muffins with the Ezekiel bread, but I have chosen to use it, so I am going to do that. So I'm just putting a little olive oil on it and putting it in my air fryer. I'm using the bake setting on my air fryer, so I'm just going to bake that up so it can be crispy like I would toast it in the oven. While that is toasting in the air fryer, I'm going to cut my avocados and prepare that. After cutting this open, I realized that one was overly ripe and unusable, so I had to toss that one, and I'm using the other avocado I have, and this one looks good and ready to go. So we're going to get that cut up and prepped. So I'm starting with prepping the things that I'm putting on top of my Ezekiel bread. So that's the avocado, an onion, and tomatoes. So I'm going to prep that first while my Ezekiel bread is toasting. If you don't want to use Ezekiel bread, you also can use whole wheat tortillas. You can make your own flatbread, basically anything without yeast or sugar. So I know there are some recipes out there that you can make some type of flatbread or tortilla. You can use corn tortillas, that is approved as well. Or you can make a sweet potato. So you use a sweet potato and you cut it in slices, flat slices. You can toast that up a bit, but keep it firm. And then you can use that as well for avocado toast. For other meals, you can make it as like a sandwich. So those are some other options if you choose not to use Ezekiel bread. Are you currently participating in the Daniel fast? Are you doing any other fasts? Do you have any New Year's resolutions or prayers for this year? If you are interested in participating in the Daniel fast and you want a little support, recipes, and resources, the link is in the description box to join. You can do it at any time, of course, but I welcome you to join us and just get a little more accountability. Ezekiel bread is toasted, and before I assemble it, I added some color to my plate, some strawberries, grapes, and blueberries, and now I'm adding the vegetables that I prepped earlier, starting with this avocado. I am using this knife and having one heck of a time, but then I later realized that using a spoon is much better. I am a novice when it comes to avocado, but I feel like this fast has definitely taught me how to use the avocado because I've used it for a lot of things. It gives like that buttery, creamy taste, and you can spread it on things. You can put it in dips. So I've gotten a lot of great uses from avocado. So here I am finally getting that spoon and realizing, wow, this is so much easier to use and scoop with a spoon than using that knife. So I'm going to spread that out. Obviously, you can keep the avocado cut. You can chop it up a little bit, but I like it spread around a little bit. So I'm just gonna chop it up and then spread it on my bread. Then I will assemble those tomatoes and the onion. It's a shallot that I'm using, and then top it with crushed red pepper and everything bagel seasoning. And here is the completed avocado toast and fruit. Again, this can be eaten at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's really up to you. It can be a snack as well. This is a healthy and flavorful meal for any time. I enjoyed it a lot. So now let's move on to the black bean and sweet potato tacos. Okay, first we're going to start out by boiling our sweet potatoes. So just peel those, cut them up, and start to boil those. Now you see me making the quote unquote meat mixture. Saute some yellow or sweet onions in some olive oil until they're a little translucent. Then you want to drain your black beans from the can, add them to the pot, and just start stirring them and smashing them a bit. It'll start making that juice as you see, because you want to get the flavor. You want to cook the beans down a bit so the beans aren't as hard, but they're a little soft again, to kind of make a paste, if you will. And then you will want to season those beans as you would season meat. And then once your sweet potatoes are done, drain them. You're going to smash them up and then add a few seasonings as well. I didn't season as much as I seasoned with the beans, but I added a couple seasonings. And there you see, that's how your beans should look, just a little bit of a paste. Take your tortilla shells, your corn tortilla shells, you're going to cover them with olive oil on both sides, and then you want to add your mixture, a little bit of beans to each tortilla shell, and a little bit of sweet potato to each shell as well. Make sure you have a baking sheet, put some parchment paper down so it doesn't stick. I don't show this in the process, but after I put all of my ingredients in and I flatten the tacos, which you will see shortly, I add an additional baking sheet on top. I put a parchment sheet down over the tacos, and I put an additional baking sheet and a cast iron pot on top to flatten them down. You also want to set your stove to 400 so they can bake and they can get crispy. After they are flattened for a while, then you can take the baking sheet and the whatever to make it heavy. Once they're flat, you can take that off and just let them crisp up on the top, and then those will be done. But as you see here, I'm just taking this spatula and I'm flipping them over to flatten them. Like I said, the process in the oven, when you put something on top of it, you just want to make it a little sturdier. But you can also fry these. You can put them in the air fryer as well. I just chose to put them in the oven because baking them was a little bit easier. I also wanted to mention that if your bean gets too dry, that paste gets too dry, I added a little vegetable broth to make sure. I added a little vegetable broth to soften them up a little bit more and to give it a little more flavor. So I used frozen onions, so that made it a little watery, and then I added vegetable broth. So that's just a little tip just in case it gets too dry too soon. This recipe makes about 8 tacos. So 1 can of beans and 1 sweet potato makes about 8 tacos. Now moving along to our pico de gallo, I have chopped cilantro, chopped tomatoes, and chopped onions. And I'm gonna add a lime. Squeeze 1 lime in that mixture. I add some Kinder seasoning. It's like salt, pepper, garlic salt. Feel free to add just salt and pepper, but you can kind of season it up as you like. Then after that, you just mix it up. And that's it. That lime juice really pulls out all the flavor in those vegetables. And that's your pico. It's great on chips as well to make a natural salsa for the Daniel fast and beyond. So that is that mixture. And then I just chopped up an avocado and spread that on top. To date, this has to be one of my favorite Daniel fast recipes. I love a good Mexican dish. I love tacos, pico. The flavors are definitely there. So I'll definitely be using this after the Daniel fast is over. And that's the meal. It turned out really good. The tacos were crispy, they were seasoned. I just added a bed of lettuce. I put that guac and I added the pico, not the guac, the avocado and the pico on top, and that was it. Let me know if you try this recipe or something similar. Type it down in the comments. I would love to know. Now we're going to head over to our final recipe, which is veggie pasta. First, we are starting off boiling our water for our noodles. I am using whole grain noodles, and while those boil, I am going to chop up a zucchini and squash. I'll also be adding tomatoes and onions a little later, just so you know those ingredients. But this meal, you can add whatever you want to your pasta. That's the beauty of pasta. You can add veggies that are getting old, new, whatever you want to. But I decided to do zucchini and squash. And as you'll see, I'm cutting them a little thicker, so as they cook down, they won't be so soggy, but stay a little bit firm. So I've added my tomatoes and I'm just mixing up my noodles. You want your noodles al dente, meaning you don't want them overly cooked and overly soggy, but again, have a bit of firmness to them. So I'm just checking them, making sure that they are cooking properly. And then I'll move on to saute my zucchini and squash. I'm using olive oil, of course. You can use olive oil, grapeseed, avocado oil, things of that nature, but no vegetable oil, canola oil, things like that. So I'm just going to saute them up. I want to get like a light char on both sides. I want them to cook to be tender, but not overly cooked. I'm adding my tomatoes at this point because I want them to blister a little bit. And I add my onions just to get a little fragrant. Then you also want to reserve your pasta water, because your pasta water mixed with garlic and olive oil will help thicken it up a little bit, give you a bit of sauce without the extra added pasta sauce or the tomato sauce that you have. So I'll add a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of vegetable broth. You can figure out the measurements and portions that you wish, but you just mix it all up, let it cook for a little bit, add takeaway as you wish. I add a couple seasonings of my choice along the way, and then I like to add your typical pasta seasonings such as Italian seasoning, basil, oregano, things of that nature. So again, you'll see how it's thickening up a bit. Everything is marrying together in this dish. Cook it for a little bit longer, add or subtract what you like, and then that is the final pasta dish. I want to thank you all for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the recipes, and I'll catch you on the next one.